I saw bicycle cops here in downtown Dallas. Now, I'm not used to seeing bicycle cops. I don't see them a whole lot. And if you've been paying attention to this show for a long period of time, you've probably heard me gripe about the bike lanes that are right next to the American Airlines Center. Our office, our studios are in the plaza at the American Airlines Center. We share our office with the Mavs and Stars and whatnot. And next to us on Houston Street, they have cemented off with little curbs, a bike lane in each direction. So not one bike lane. There's two bike lanes in this one road. And this isn't a giant road. This has now been squeezed down to now one lane each direction when it could have been two. But if you allow for people to parallel park and a bike lane and all this other stuff, it's choked off a road where we actually need traffic. We are here in the middle of downtown. We have traffic jams every single rush hour. And it has done nothing but drive me insane to look out this window and see cars backed up and the traffic is jammed and some guy's trying to take a left turn and we're waiting for the light to turn green so this jam can unravel. Meanwhile, there are just completely unused bicycle lanes that are just wasting, an absolute waste of space and resources and time, and things would flow so much better. People would get home from work faster. They'd get in and out of Stars games and Mavericks games faster, or all these concerts, or the people that work down here would get out of work faster. And it now happened. I probably should have updated you. 2 weeks ago, I actually saw a guy in a bicycle in the bike lane. Now, I've been in this studio since January 1st of last year. So what is this, 15 months? Something like that. He is the 8th dude. That is the 8th time I've actually seen someone use the bicycle lane properly. And this guy, he must have been an angel from heaven. He had a backpack on. He was dressed in decent clothes, so he wasn't just doing this for recreation. And he actually, Mother of God, stopped at the red light, waited for it to turn green before he went. Even the other bicycle people, they don't follow all the traffic signs. If they stop at a red light, they just look back and forth, and if the coast is clear, they run the light. And that always ticks me off because you want the privileges of riding on the big road, but not the responsibility of following the same law as everyone else. Well, I have just as much right to be on this road as a car. Oh, well, then follow all the rules then. But today, the 7-Eleven that's over here had two bicycle cops. They were getting on their bike, mounting up, and when they came off the sidewalk, they actually didn't come off the sidewalk. They rode up to the edge of it, and then they took a right turn. And instead of getting in the bike lane, they stayed on the sidewalk. And now I'm just done. I'm done. You have bicycle cops whose job it is to enforce the law, and even they don't want to use the bicycle lane, even though it's their job to be a bicycle cop and be the model citizen for the rest of us to follow. They know the bike lane's stupid. They did what I think all bicycle people should do. Stay on the sidewalk. I don't blame them. I think they did the right thing. However, if the bicycle cops don't have to be in the bike lane, if they don't want to be in the bike lane, if they're not trying to be in the bike lane, isn't that an admission that the bike lane is absolutely worthless? Like, what's the point of the bike lane? Why do we tolerate this? Who still thinks this is a good idea? Not the bicycle cops, not the guys who are all day, every day for a matter of work on their bicycles. So why are we still doing this? Is there going to be an end date on this? Is there a point at which we will ever stand up and be like, okay, we tried this bicycle thing, this bicycle lane thing. Obviously, it's not working out. We need to rip them all up. Sorry about all the expense and the projects and the positive media coverage. It was all lies. We were all wrong. We owe the taxpayers and the people who get stuck in traffic every day a big fat apology for trying this. But no, we're still going to have later this year probably Take Your Bicycle to Work Day, which is one of the dumbest days. I can't believe anyone says this with a straight face out of any political office. And then it just astounds me even more that newspapers and TV stations and radio stations and all these other news people can repeat this like it's a good idea. It's a stupid idea. Who the hell can ride a bike to work? I'm not saying nobody, but most of us can't. Do you live close enough to your work to ride a bike? Where I grew up, it was a 40-minute round trip to the nearest gallon of milk. You think anybody who lives in the country can take their bike to work? You think anybody with a family can take their bike all around? How am I supposed to take my kid to soccer practice on a Huffy? Or is he going to be standing on the pegs behind me like Napoleon Dynamite? Is that what I'm supposed to do? How am I supposed to go to the grocery store in a 10-speed? This is not practical. It's not useful. It's not real. It's not pragmatic. It's a fantasy land of things that sound good. But all these people that are pushing bicycles, are they taking bicycles to work? No. Here's the dirty little secret. Nobody is. So I got the bicycle lane that's going completely unused on the east side of my studios. On the west side of my studios, I have the DART train tracks that just have empty trains all day, every day, back and forth, open, close, in and out of the little station here at the Exchange at the American Airlines Center. Like the Truman Show. It's just all for show. No one actually uses these things. How bad does it have to get before we cut off the spigot and we have to stop funding this, or we get to stop funding this? But I have seen a few people here and there on bicycles, but they're almost always on the sidewalk. And if they are on the road, they're almost never in the bike lane. Only 8 times have I seen one in the bike lane. Can you do this real quick, Dwight? I only got like a minute left. You're in Fort Worth. Go.
I live on the south side of Fort Worth, up and down Rosedale, Riverside, that area. They came in, they put in bike lanes before they put in sidewalks. I'm telling you, I don't see nobody on those bike lanes. Nobody.
I agree. So how bad does it have to get before we all stand up and say, can we take down these bike lanes? It's been a terrible idea. And whatever money that they spent for those bike lanes, a sidewalk would have been useful to more people. You know, I do see people walking around. You
are absolutely right. But historically, it goes back to when Austin put in bike lanes. And then it was monkey see, monkey do.
Right.
Let you go. Bye-bye.
Right. I love it. And when it's August, who can take their bike to work in August? If I took my bike to work, if you took your bike to work in August, you'd get there and you'd smell like Bigfoot. We can't do that. I can't conduct business being all sweaty like it's halftime at the Mavs game and I just got off the court. It'd be nasty. I'd be soaking wet, drenched in sweat by the time I got to work. We just thought I'd have to share my latest bicycle lane grievance. I actually saw Dallas bicycle cops avoiding the walled-off bicycle lane and stayed on the sidewalk. And you know what? I'm on their side. I just wish we all got the same privilege and admit the same thing. The bike lanes are worthless. Rip them all up. Write an apology letter to the taxpayers and the commuters of DFW and promise to never, ever do that again. Something happened last night that I don't think I've ever seen before. Coming up to PNC Plaza, as people were streaming into the Mavericks game, I was getting off work and I had to kind of go through the crowd. And I've been to quite a few professional sporting events. You know, I've been to Cowboys games, probably the most. And I've been to a Mavericks game. I've been to a Stars game. When I lived in New Orleans, I went to some Saints games, some Pelicans game. I went to I saw the Cowboys play at the Tampa Bay Stadium like 3 years ago. And something that I've never seen before is that the most popular jersey for each team side was the same dude. And the Mavericks jersey that people were wearing, the people coming into the stadium, the one that I saw the most was Luka. The Lakers jersey that I saw the most, also Luka. So I'm sure that's probably happened before, but that's the first time I've seen it. Usually it's the star player on one team and then the star player on the other team, but never has it been the both. So that was wild. And then something happened that I kind of expected, but it's still weird to hear. The whole crowd erupted into a chant of Fire Nico, and I was told this happened several times. Fire Nico. All right, think about this. How does that feel if you're Nico Harris? What's it like? Because for him, this is almost like the players. He made it to the pros. You know, he wants to be in sports management or whatever you call what he does, and he's made it to the top. There's only like 30 basketball teams out there, so there's only 30 people that get to be a general manager for an NBA team. So he's in a very exclusive club. He is at the top of his profession. How's it going? Oh, I don't know. 16,000 people yelling for me to be fired. Is that pretty good? No, that's not good at all. That's not what you hope for when you get there. When you rise all the way to the top, you probably don't even want them to know your name. You just want to be holding a trophy at the end of the season, and then everybody can tell you you're great. They're probably not going to chant for you. But this isn't what you had in mind. You didn't expect for there to be like a mural in just south side of downtown over here calling for you to be fired. People selling hats, fire Nico. People selling shirts, fired Nico. There was a shirt being sold where I think it said, "We love you" in Slovenian. I don't know because my Slovenian is rather rusty. these days. Haven't been keeping up with it so much. But I got a good message. Jonathan had sent me a Facebook message yesterday talking about the Luka segment that I did yesterday and just responding to that. But then he also said at the end of it, I hope Luka destroys them in the game tonight. And so then after the game, you look at the stat line, Luka dropped 45 points against the Mavericks. They end up winning by 15 points. So I wrote Jonathan back, hey, bud, looks like you got your list. And then he was in the car. So he sent me this message, and I bet you there's about 400 people right now who think the exact same thing. This is Jonathan.
Oh, man, sorry, I'm driving. Just heard your commercial on the radio. Yeah, that was a great game. Wow. And I like the fact that they, did what they did for Luka at the beginning, but it doesn't, the way they handled that whole trade for the fan, everything, it was just horrible. Like, you said it good on your show yesterday. The fact that we didn't get anything for it was even more insulting. But yeah, great game. I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Yeah, and that was Jonathan. And the thing that he mentioned, that little thing they did before the game, they played a video tribute. They had made a montage together and sort of thanking him for his time here and letting him know what a special guy he was. And, of course, the NBA walked a camera right in front of him. And he's sitting on the sideline on the Lakers bench, and he ends up having to put his head in his hands and barely looking up at the video. Dude was crying. This made him so sentimental. It shows you that the guy really cared. He really wanted to be here. That's not the norm for our professional sports stars. Usually they just go from team to team, whoever can give them the best deal. There's no such thing as loyalty. It's just I'm going to be in this league for a short time, so I'm going to cash in as much as I can. Legacy be damned. But this guy had something special, knew he had something special. He was going on the Dirk model, and we all just thought that we were going to get lucky again and get another Dirk. But that kind of breaks your heart even worse to let you know he really cared. Here's another lesson. Instead of just saying fire Nico or Nico's terrible, how about we show a little more appreciation for Mark Cuban? How good did we have it for the 20-something years that Mark Cuban was in charge? We didn't get any dumb trades like this. Mark Cuban wasn't always a hero around here, but there was never 16,000 people chanting fire Cuban, was there? So we really miss Nico, but I think part of that is we really miss Mark Cuban. Can he get back? Can he get his job back too? I don't think we can undo the Luka trade. I don't think Los Angeles would be dumb enough to give him up. I don't think anyone besides us is dumb enough to give him up. Can we get Mark Cuban back? How about that? That'll be like our consolation prize. But man, also, maybe some people are too into sports or too emotionally invested. But even the casual fans have a legit complaint about how bad this trade has worked out. And it's only been, like 2 months? You know, I had a lot of feedback on a couple of segments I did yesterday. I think I need you to update you on them. We had talked about the dire wolves being brought back from extinction. And I'm told this is a group of doctors up in Frisco, which I think is kind of awesome that we have that technology. I just question, why are we starting the de-extinction process with monsters that can eat us? I think that's kind of dumb. But I asked the question, of all the animals you could bring back from extinction, which would you like to eat first? Because that's what we're all really interested in, right? I mean, it'd be nice to see dinosaurs or whatever. But what does a brontosaurus taste like? What does a stegosaurus taste like? How does that compare to triceratops? Is that good in a bowl of ramen? Would that be good on? Can I get like a stegosaurus egg and make an omelet? The winner, though, this is why I think you'll get a kick out of this. The overwhelming winner, Bronto Burgers. Now, we didn't all just magically think of Bronto Burgers. We've been brainwashed, or we've been trained. We've been groomed by Hanna-Barbera to want Bronto Burgers ever since the Flintstones came out. And how many Bronto Burgers did we have to watch them eat and be all jealous? Because the number 2 answer on if we can bring back animals from extinction, which ones would you like to eat? Number 2 was that rack of ribs that tumped over the Flintstones car, in the opening sequence. There's actually one episode where they go and they get the ribs and it tumps over the car. I saw that episode one time. That's from an episode. But that was the number 2. So the number 1 answer and the number 2 answer were both related to the Flintstones. Isn't that's kind of sweet, right? We all just have like a little place in our heart still that's occupied by Hanna-Barbera. I bet you if we had the robot maids, what would you name your first robot maid? My guess, the number one answer would be Rosie. Because the Jetsons. So that was cute. And the other feedback front before we get to Lance over here, we had talked about Attorney General Ken Paxton making it official. The rumors are true. He's going to be running against John Cornyn for his Senate seat from Texas. And I was like, who you got? Do you have a preference? I know Paxton's made some enemies here in the state of Texas. He almost got impeached last year. And I imagine we're going to see a lot of negative ads coming up pretty soon about him. But this is interesting, or I thought you would think this is interesting. Every single person that took the time to write me a note was pro-Paxton over John Cornyn. Not one person said I would take John Cornyn over Ken Paxton. There was one guy that said I worked at a business where where Ken Paxton was regular and he was kind of rude, but he didn't say he would vote for Cornyn over him or he didn't like him for senator. It was just I didn't have one pro-Cornyn message in that. So that was wild. All right, now with all that said, let's check in with Lance Threlkill. He works up in Allen, All Metals Fabricating. Do I still have that correct? I'm trying to memorize all this stuff.
Yes, sir. Yep, and Printed Technologies.
Okay, so you guys do have inputs. You're in a manufacturing, a fabricating plant that cross international borders. How have things changed for you under this new changing tariff setup this week?
It's actually been pretty refreshing that so far we've seen no increases since the initial spikes. And I think that's largely due to a lot of manufacturers buying up a lot of material right on the forefront of this, expecting prices to continuing to increase. And then, now you don't have a bunch of manufacturers buying material. So the suppliers are sitting on a bunch. And so instead of increasing the prices more, they're having to keep it stable.
Have you had to raise your prices?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we raised our prices as soon as the material prices went up.
Yeah, I was hearing from Kimberly across the glass there. Her car battery price got jacked up. And, they haven't even had these are batteries that they got pre-tariff. So they were, what, is this just a anticipatory raising of the prices or just a clean excuse to get a little more money?
Well, probably a little bit of both. And that situation certainly sounds like an excuse to get a little bit more money. I think that, and I think the mills were doing that probably a little bit as well, which is why we saw as soon as the threat of the tariffs were coming back mid-February, the prices jumped then in anticipation, which is common. The mills try to get in front of, price increases because on the way down, they get hit pretty hard.
Well, we still have tariffs on China. In fact, we have even bigger tariffs on China. So is that a stumbling block for you guys? Do you source some of your inputs from China?
Some manufacturers get more material than others from China. Some of our 6061 aluminum comes from China, not much. So we're fortunate. The Chinese material is just good, generally speaking. And so we're a high quality, high precision fab shop with good cosmetic parts. So we try to avoid sourcing from China.
All right, Lance Threlkill, thank you very much for an update. It's good to talk to a manufacturer, see how they're dealing with the tariffs here in DFW. Appreciate it, sir. Thanks. All right, All Metals Fabricating. We have Blue Ribbon's 2025 WeatherCon. It's coming up April 26th. It'll be from 9:30 in the morning till 1:30 in the afternoon at the Frontiers of Flight Museum. That's right next to Love Field. You don't pull into Love Field. You go around to the east side of it, but your phone knows where it's at. If you show up 9:30 a.m., there might be a little bit of a line, but you'll get to see all the presentations, all the science demonstrations for the kiddos. You'll get to see the Storm Chaser truck. You'll get to see some of their presentations, and you'll get to hear from the National Weather Service, Brad Barton, Fox 4's Chief Meteorologist, Dan Henry. So if you're a weather enthusiast, you'd love to go. If you're a parent with some young kiddos and you'd like to show them some interesting sciencey things, you gotta go. Why? It's free. I realize it's on a Saturday and you might have some other things to do, but we're going to be there from 9:30 until 1:30. So squeeze us in. You don't have to be there at the very beginning, but carve out a little bit of time to come on out And if nothing else, you get to see the Frontiers of Flight Museum for free because of the generosity of Blue Ribbon Roofing. They're putting together the 2025 WeatherCon with WBAP's chief meteorologist, Brad Barton. Coming up April 26th, that's a Saturday, Frontiers of Flight Museum at Love Field, 9:30 a.m. I'll be there, so come on out and say hi. All right, that's going to do it for my time today. Stick around. Mark Levin's coming up next. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.